you, Pat. Our speaker has joined us. Hi, Nancy.
Welcome. Hello, Nancy.
Welcome. I will just briefly introduce Nancy as our speaker. She's on mute, and the rest of you will be muted shortly, I hope. Nancy is one of our fund grant recipients, and she is in feminist studies at UC Santa Barbara. She spoke with the Santa Barbara Interbranch Council a few weeks ago, so she knows all about how curious we all are going to be about her topic. This is the first time that Nancy and I have met face to face, and thank you to Karen Vanderwerken for connecting us also. You read about her background, I think, in either our newsletters or our e-blasts or the most recent excuse me, reminder that came out yesterday. So I'm now going to turn the program over to Nancy so she can tell us more about herself. And I thank you for being here with us today, Nancy. Your speaker is on.
Yeah. Hi, good morning, everyone. Yes, thank you. It's so wonderful to meet you, Jane, and everyone else here. I'm going to do share screening. So I just wanted to make sure I have permission to share my screen.
Yes, Nancy, you do.
Okay, great. 1 second then.
Nancy, we have our tech person here if you need any help.
I also forgot to mention that Nancy is about to graduate in June, so she's very busy right now, and we appreciate the half hour, 45 minutes she's going to share with us today. And we're going to have lots of questions at the end of the session. This takes me back to the AV days. Remember when we had to guide on the hall?
Jane, did you want to put the questions in the chat? That's what we normally do, or just ask them?
We'll try asking at the end and see how that goes. If your question is brief, you probably could put it in the chat.
Yeah, because we can retrieve those after Nancy finishes the presentation and we can read through them. So if you have a thought in the moment, type it in.
Right, there you go.
Sometimes my thoughts go. Nancy, do you need anything?
Yeah, I think I tried to share the presenter view and for the share screen. Let's see. Maybe this is maybe there. Do you see?
There she comes.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Yeah, because like you said, it's back to the old days of the Zoom world of this technology. Okay, so let me just go back. Okay, great. So you see that, and can you still see the title of the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So thank you everyone for your virtual attendance. I want to thank AAUW for their incredible support to complete my doctoral degree and pursue my goals in higher in academia. Jane already shared a little bit about that. Yes, I'll be graduating this June, and I also have some more updates that I'll share at the end of my presentation. I also want to thank OYE, the Oaxaqueños Youth Encuentro, for their support, which is a case study that I'm doing for my dissertation, and I'll share more about who they are. So I also wanted to thank them at the beginning, again, for me to be able to pursue my research. And I also want to give a special thank you again to Jane Sanders for her invitation and everyone else who helped organize this wonderful event. The title of my presentation for today is We Are Still Here, New Generations of Indigenous Latinx Women in Oaxaca, California. Let's see, hopefully this works. Can you see the next screen, the agenda?
Not yet.
Yes?
No.
No? Okay, then let me go back. It feels like, okay,
Yeah.
Oh, there, do you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll be going, this is the agenda for today. I'll share a little bit about my background, about, and then what led me to my research project. Then I'll discuss the terminology, Oaxaca, California. So I'll explain more what that terminology is. Then I'll explain and go into some more details about what is the Guelaguetza knowledge system. Maybe some of you have visited Oaxaca in the past for different reasons, and there's Guelaguetza festivals that you've heard of or participated or attended, right, throughout the years. So I'm going to go and talk about the knowledge system specifically of the Guelaguetza. And then I'll be talking about the Oaxaqueños Youth Encuentro Oye, who's the case study that I'm conducting for my research. And then I'll end it with a conclusion, a few brief remarks. So about me, I'm an Indigenous Latinx feminist scholar activist whose project examines Indigenous women and queer youth's participation in building Indigenous diaspora communities that challenge settler colonialism. I'm also one of the co-founders of the Collective of Pueblos Originarios in Diaspora, CPOD. It's a new campus student organization that heightens visibility of Indigenous students, Maya, Mixtec, and Zapotec in diaspora at the University of California, Santa Barbara. And then I'll share more, right, of my background. I'm also a second generation Zapotec woman, queer, parent, and daughter of Indigenous migrant parents who are members of San Bartolomé Sogocho, which is located in the Sierra Norte of Oaxaca, Mexico. So this is a picture I have here of our beautiful homeland, which is Sogocho. And then there's another picture of my beautiful child there, was just one of the first times I brought her to Oaxaca. So during the year before the pandemic, the onset of the pandemic. So it was a beautiful experience to have and take her there. So I also wanted to share, right, that this is my background, and more so growing up myself. I grew up in Los Angeles, and I really struggled with my own indigeneity. So I, like many Indigenous Latinx youth who are the children of Indigenous migrants, also experienced a lot of discrimination and racism by Mestizo Latinx peers. So it was really difficult for me to really, and I struggled a lot to really see myself as an Indigenous person. And I also had that shame also of like believing or wanting to claim my indigeneity. So it took me a really, really, really long time to come out as an Indigenous person and really reclaim my indigeneity and diaspora. And so this is kind of how, through both my research and my praxis, I've been able to reclaim now my indigeneity. And so this is kind of where my work really is centering and focusing about how new generations are reclaiming their indigeneity and diaspora. So there's the children of Indigenous migrants specifically, right? And I'm focusing on women and on queer youth, and to see how, in what ways are they doing that? What does that look like? And so I'll be talking more about that. So here is the term Oaxaca, California. Oaxaca, California names a transnational social field that emerged because of their migration patterns and the social, cultural, and civil practices that allowed Indigenous migrants to maintain strong ties to their homelands. So there's hometown associations and transnational organizations that have been pivotal to Indigenous Oaxacan communities' efforts to build community and connect to their homelands. They're These are two examples that I provided here, that their logos. Some of you may be familiar of these organizations, such as the Mixteco Indígena Community Organizing Project, MICOP, and the Centro Binacional para el Desarrollo Indígena Oaxaqueño, Binational Center for the Development of Oaxacan Indigenous Communities, CBDIO. So these are both transnational organizations that are located in the Central Coast and in the Central Valley. Like I said, these are just two of many other transnational organizations, groups, and hometown associations that are across California, the state of California. And my research specifically focuses in the Central Coast and in the Central Valley. And there's been, like, I want to also emphasize that these organizations have been here for, this is 2023, so it's about 3 decades. So there's a long history of indigenous communities, indigenous migrant communities, building, right, strong communities across in diaspora. And so now I'm looking at the children of indigenous migrants and what are their experiences, our experiences. So underlying the efforts of transnational organizations, hometown associations, and then I'll go into talking about what the Oaxacan Youth Encuentro, they're underlying these efforts of organizing and building strong indigenous transnational communities is the Guelaguetza knowledge system. So Oaxaca, the Oaxacan indigenous people use the common phrase, usos y costumbres, customs and traditions, to explain their way of life instead of the term Guelaguetza. So my parents, for instance, don't go about and say, oh yeah, this is our Guelaguetza, this is Guelaguetza. That's not what, they don't use that term like on the daily. So what is used more commonly is usos y costumbres. These are custom and traditions. But what that really means is that these are our traditions and our practices that are grounded in our knowledge system of the Guelaguetza. A Guelaguetza is a system of reciprocity that is embedded in transnational indigenous communities. So I want to emphasize that Native and indigenous peoples across the world, right, not just in diaspora, but across the world, different Native communities, tribes, and nations